Hi. Today I'm going to be doing a video on the right to repair bill. So on this channel, I don't ask you to like, I don't ask you to subscribe, I don't ask you to watch the videos, and I most certainly don't ask you to donate. Today is going to be the first time that I really ask you to take time out of your day to actually do something, and that is read the links in the description and contact these senators and assembly people and tell them why the right to repair bill is important to you. So what I do on this channel for the most part is provide educational videos on how to do electronics repair, component level specifically on Apple products that virtually nobody else is showing you how to do. And that is very much so that my ability to do any of this has always been in jeopardy. I show you little diagrams on the screen and I show you how circuits are put together so that you can understand how your laptop knows to fall asleep when you close it and why it permanently thinks it's asleep if you put a drop of water on it. How your laptop knows to put the light on the screen. How your phone knows to turn on so that if you're out in the rain with the phone and something happens to the phone, you can get your data back. And my ability to do that, a lot of what I do here, in our current country, it might be a crime. It might actually be a crime that I sit here for free attempting to educate you on how to work on these products. And that's something that really just irks me to the point where I don't have it in me to say that we currently live in a free country so long as there is not legislation securing my right to sit here and show you a diagram and show you how to fix a product for free. And there are a lot of problems here that I want to try to talk about in this video, and I want to get this video up as quickly as possible because we are down to the wire here. This is probably the last couple of days that this is something that we're going to be able to actually focus on, and I haven't had breakfast yet, so excuse me if my head is a little bit scrambled. But there are a couple of issues that I want to discuss. The first is not even showing diagrams, just fixing any of these devices in general. If a bill like this isn't passed, then any company will have the right to tell you, your device is 1 day out of warranty, we're not going to sell you a battery for it, we're not going to provide you a battery for it. Can you imagine a world where you buy a $4,000 or $10,000 drone and the company has the right after their warranty is up to not sell you a battery? Because that's the thing. I really want you to understand that this goes far beyond the MacBook and iPhone stuff that I go over on this channel. This affects electronics in general. And there are so many new technologies that are emerging. There are so many new technologies that people are getting into. There's this whole VR headset thing. There's the drone thing. We have these $2,000 and $4,000 and $10,000 flying machines with cameras that I could probably get a little water gun on so that they could shoot my cat when he tries to distract me when I'm doing a video. You know, these devices are devices that people are going to need repair on. Jessa receives devices all the time that have little coils knocked off of them when they fly into a tree. And these people don't want to spend another $4,000 to buy another drone. They want somebody like Jessa to solder a new one on for anywhere between the cost of the 17-cent component to the $2,000 that the drone costs. And this is important because it's something that right now just is being done in this very underground fashion, and I don't like it very much. I don't like explaining to people that it is difficult for me to find a battery for their product because nobody is willing to sell it to me. That's really distracting, boy. Why do you have to keep smelling my nose? But it is the way that we do things. Right now, when I need a battery, I have to wire money to a random Taiwanese vendor and hope and pray that it will actually show up at my doorstep. Or when it comes to any type of issue with component level repair, a big question in my other component level repair videos is, Lewis, why don't you just become Apple authorized? If you're Apple authorized, you'll get the diagnostic tool that tells you which sensor failed. Well, once I'm Apple authorized and I have the tool that tells me what sensor failed, I'm also bound by their rules to not replace the sensor. But as an independent repair shop, I can replace the sensor, but I don't have access to the diagnostic tools and software. How screwed up is that? Like, again, this is the world that we currently live in. And with newer products, again, every single repair video I do, every single repair that I do, they're based on diagrams that show which resistor is attached to which component, to which capacitor, to which transistor, to which transformer. They're all based on those documents that, if not released, I'm not able to do my job. I've shown you how hard it is to do the job without those. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. It's not economical for somebody like me to spend 12 to 18 hours to find where a fuse is when I could find where that fuse is in 5 seconds with proper documentation. And this is one of the things I want you to understand, because a lot of people think that this is the way the industry has to be. 50 years ago, you would buy a TV set, or you would buy a radio, or you would buy a recording console, and on the back of that console, you would see a drawing. And that drawing would tell you exactly how everything was assembled so that you could repair it. When you purchased a computer 35 years ago, that computer came with books that were this thick, detailing what every component was, where to purchase a replacement, how they were put together, the specifications of the components. This was normal in our business. It's only over the past 5 to 10 years that this new phase, that this new ridiculous phase has come into electronics where every single piece of information is hidden. And it makes me sad because there's so many devices right now sitting in landfills. There's so many devices sitting in e-waste recycling facilities that literally a 13-year-old kid with no experience who's watched my videos for 2 weeks could make work again. A 13-year-old kid with no experience could watch 2 weeks worth of my videos on their summer vacation and go to an e-waste recycling facility, pick up all this crap that they probably have pigeons shitting on, clean it up a little bit, and then make this junk into a working system. And the reason, there's a couple of reasons it's important. The first reason it's important is obviously because the more stuff that gets thrown away, more stuff that gets tossed in the landfills, the worse it is for the environment. But the second reason is there are a lot of countries in the world where $500 to you, $500 to you to buy a new one is nothing. But $500 in a lot of these places, that's a year of somebody's salary. And I want you to think about how people are learning nowadays. People watch my videos and they're learning how all this stuff works. They're learning that from videos on the internet. Videos on YouTube are teaching electronics repair. Videos from MIT that they put up for free of their classes are teaching engineering. The kid who finds out the solution to the polluted water problem, to the no clean water problem, may figure out some chemical solution or come up with some invention based on what he's learned on the internet. And that's an internet that could be made available to him by you from a device that's literally been thrown in the garbage. There could be devices in his country that are sitting in the garbage that he could learn how to fix just from watching stuff like this. And stuff like this content that I do, all the content I do, may be content that under current law is not legal. And does that seem right to you? Does that seem right to you that when I'm saying, here's how the boost circuit works, that the trackpad works on this machine so that it's usable, that is something that shouldn't be legal? Does it seem right to you that all of these devices that could be used by people who desperately need them, who could do great things with them, are sitting in trash cans? Because, and again, the thing is, I'm not going to be able to continue doing what I'm doing if manuals are not released. And I don't get these manuals. I have to Google them, and I have to find them on some Russian or Romanian FTP server. And the reason you're finding it there instead of through regular means is because it's most likely not legal to get them through regular means. And it sucks. These manuals that literally used to be posted to the back of your radio, they used to be glued to the back of your TV set, are now manuals that you have to fight to find 1 or 2 years after something is released. Again, I don't like having to explain to a customer, I fully understand how to fix this problem, and I fixed it 6,000 times before. But I can't fix it on your device because I don't know where that component is. And it's going to take me probably 40 hours to find it, which I can't spend. It's lame. Now, there are a couple of other things that I want to talk about here. I want to talk about the time that I had when I visited the Senate, and I also want to talk about one of the most common rebuttals to the right to repair. One of the most common rebuttals to the right to repair is that most independent service centers they're shady, they suck, they don't know what they're doing. I want you to think really hard about how good cardiac surgeons would be if there was no school. There was no schooling, there were no manuals, there were no books that they could read on the human anatomy, and there were no cadavers that they could practice on. If they had no cadavers to practice on, if they had no schooling, no training, no programs, no certification, that the cardiac surgeon that you go to, you're going to be the first person he opens up, and he's going to be figuring it out as he goes. How high do you think the quality would be of healthcare in our country? Because it's the same here. You may think it's a silly comparison, but it's the same shit. I didn't have manuals for the first devices I opened up. I didn't know where these Romanian and Russian FTP sites were that were releasing this data. I had no idea how to gain access to schematics. So the first time that I looked at a DC to DC boost circuit on this board, I had to guess where everything was. I had to guess where the feedback line was. I had to guess where the enable circuit was. Everything that was here, I had to guess. And what type of job do you think I did while guessing? Not a very good one. Right now, I'm very proficient and very good in working on these products to the point where I could explain it and dumb it down to where anybody who has no electronics experience will understand what's going on in 7 to 20 minutes. But in the beginning, It didn't start that way. It didn't start that way because there's no information out there. When there's no information, even people who are very proficient and good at working on a specific device are going to have no idea what they are doing. There is no training. There is no information. And as a result of having no training and no information, as a result of there being no documentation whatsoever on any of these devices, the independent service facilities are unable to operate to a great level of quality. As a result of not being able to buy a battery from the manufacturer, as a result of not being able to buy an SMC from the manufacturer, the average level of parts quality you're going to find at independent repair is lower. And then people will say, well, look, independent repair is not good. They're not as good as they could be. We can't give them access to things. But the very reason the quality of the independent repair center is not where it should be is because they're not given access to any of the manuals. They're not giving access to the parts, and then you wonder why they don't know what they're doing. How much better do you think independent repair would be if we had access to this information? Because I believe that we've proven over and over again that we know what we're doing. Again, a guy named Duke in the Netherlands that works out of his garage figured out why the 2010 MacBook Pro has kernel panics, figured out why the 2008 and 2009 MacBook Pro will randomly not turn on before Apple did. And he did this out of his garage. There are so many people around the world that could be bettering the state of electronics repair if they were only given access to the tools, if they were only given access to the manuals and the parts so they could actually do it properly. It shouldn't be that this small group of people are the only people in the world that have a clue. And the other thing I want to propose to you, because it's a necessary plug in this video, because I know it's going to piss off the people watching this as much as it pissed me off. When I went to the Senate building in Albany to lobby for this right to repair last year, I got to speak to a lot of assembly people. I got to speak to some senators' aides. I got to speak to a lot of people about this, and I got to speak with a lot of lobbyists. And the experience that above all this Dora the Explorer video on YouTube with Swiper, where it's like swiper, no swiping, swiper, no swiping. And he goes, what the fuck? And he just and everything explodes. This is what happens in my head every time I tell this story. So I'm there and I'm talking about the right to repair, and one of the assembly people's aides is saying something along the lines of, well, we have Apple lobbyists here and they talk about it and they talk about proprietary property and blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that they'll mention is that when you use the schematic to do the repair, when you run a wire or replace a resistor, that you are then changing the Mac into a PC. And then when you give that PC back to the customer and you call it a MacBook, you're now misrepresenting the repair device that you give back to them. You don't tell the customer that you've turned it into a PC, and that's one of the reasons that you can't have schematics and documents. It took every ounce of discipline in my body to not just run around screaming, knocking everything off shelves in the Senate building after I heard that. Like, these are the excuses that Apple lobbyists are. You're like, I just want to these are the excuses that Apple lobbyists are using to fight things like the right to repair bill. This type of fear, uncertainty, doubt, and bullcrap. And it's something that everybody here has the power to change. Every single person watching this video can go to the links in the description. Ask questions. Ask questions about how you can help. Ask questions about why you should care. And then I'm going to also provide a list of the senators and assembly people that you can call, because phone calls mean much more than letters here, that you can actually call to talk about this with. Talk about why this is important to you. I know why this is important to me. I get the letters, I get the phone calls, I get the pictures in the mail from people who used to live in their fucking car, who now have a business repairing items that were literally thrown away because of the content that I've put up here. I see what happens. I see what giving a little bit of education on how this stuff works and how electronics works so that people can repair it. I see the good it does in the world. The item that was in a landfill got picked up by somebody. That item was then repaired. That item that was worth $0 in the landfill has now been repaired. It then gets sold to somebody for $400 to $500 at a 15-cent cost to repair. The guy who bought it, who didn't have $1,200 for a new one, got to spend $400. He's happy. The guy who just made $400 out of nothing, he's happy. And the e-waste of the recycling center, the landfill, and most importantly, the earth is now happy that that device is not sitting there. They're happy. This is a good thing. All around, this is a good thing. The only people that this is not a good thing for are Apple, because they're not going to get to bend you over and rape you when something doesn't work or tell you simply buy a new one. The only people who don't benefit from this bill are the people who are making money off of it. And that's what I really want you to think about when you read about any opposition to it. And again, I want you to think about this in grander terms. It's not just about data recovery on iPhones. It's not just about fixing MacBooks. I didn't even mention that, the whole iPhone thing. If you get a drop of liquid on your iPhone and it just stops turning on, even if you go to an authorized repair center, you could be willing to spend $1 million. They won't get your data back. You could say for $1 million, I will pay you that to get the data off my phone. The authorized center will not do it. You know who will? The unauthorized center. Places like myself and Jess at iPad Rehab for $200 to $400. We will get the data off of a phone that you dropped in the toilet. You can't get that at Apple for $1 million. And you know what we use to do that? We use diagrams that we are not given access to. When a new device comes out, if nobody has magically made that document, fly out of the Apple Center and go onto the FTP server that we're most likely logging into to get it, then we're shit out of luck and we can't help you. Do you want to live in a world where if you make a mistake and don't back up your baby pictures because you forgot to hit the sync button on iCloud or whatever, that your baby pictures are permanently gone just because some company won't give me the information on what capacitor is what or what resistor is what? It's silly. And it just doesn't make sense. And again, I want you to see this about so much more than just MacBooks and laptops and cell phones and data recovery. There's a world of electronics repair out there. There's a world of emerging technology out there that can be fixed. One of my great tech mentors, one of the smartest people I know when it comes to troubleshooting electronics, smart guy, he taught me my entire troubleshooting mindset and showed me how I can apply it to almost anything, told me, this is dead because the manuals are not as good as they used to be, and surface mount components make it impossible to fix things. He actually said that. Very smart guy. He's been doing this for 30 years. Very smart guy. And he said, surface mount components make this impossible, and the manuals are not as good as they used to be. He's not even saying that the manuals don't exist. He was simply saying that the manuals are not as good. They don't tell you what the different signals mean. You can't get support. Therefore, it's terrible. And for the past 5 years, I've been showing you how to fix things with manuals that are incomplete. I've been showing you how to do repair on devices where the things are so small you can't even see them outside of a 45x microscope. And the reason I bring this up is because I don't want you to think about this as just MacBooks and that shit. I want you to think about I want you to think about all the devices that are going to have this new technology in them and just how screwed we are as a society if the manufacturer is able to say, sorry, you've owned the device for 366 days, therefore you're not able to buy a new battery. You can just buy a new one. Sorry, I know you have a $5,000 drone there that has one little coil knocked off it. You got to buy another $5,000 drone just because you flew it into a tree. Again, I want you to think about all the new technologies that are going to emerge over the next 10, 20, 30, 70, 200 years that we can't even fathom will exist right now, and how screwed we're going to be if legislation doesn't exist that protects people's right to work on their own property. Again, do you want to actually own the device? Do you want to own the mouse that you buy, the microphone that you buy, or the laptop that you buy? Or do you simply want to rent access to it for a year? That's what I would propose. Check out the Reddit AMA below. Kyle is providing a lot of information in that. I'm going to be providing a lot of information in that thread. Check out those links to where you can contact the senators and assembly people. And I want you to really think about this. Do you want channels like this to exist 3 or 6 or 9 months into the future? If you do, again, don't donate. Don't give me any money. Don't like, don't subscribe, don't promote me. I don't want any of that shit. What I want you to do is go through these links and help us create some real, genuine legislative change that will benefit people, not just here, but all around the world for a long time to come. Thank you for listening and watching, and as always, I hope you learned something.